All right. All right. We're going to get back to business here. The second presentation for 135 Dudley, aka the B2 police site, is Nuestra Comunidad. Again, they've got 15 minutes. We will time them, and then we'll have the 15-minute comment and question period. So I want to introduce Nuestra Comunidad.
Thank you, and good morning, everyone. I am David Price. I'm with the Nuestra Comunidad Development Corporation. We've been part of the Roxbury community since 1981, and probably most, if not everyone in the room knows something about Nuestra. We've done a lot of community development down Dudley Street, down Blue Hill Avenue, but I want everyone here to know three things about Nuestra today. We started building and selling affordable homes to first-time homebuyers in Roxbury in 1988. Each year, over 200 people graduate from our first-time homebuyer program. And third, if you want to see our recent development, it's easy to do, up close. Take a walk over to Harlow Street, Alaska Street, Edgewood Street, Guild and Washington to Bartlett Station. You can see new buildings, rental and home ownership, built in the last 12 months, and each is beautiful inside and out because that's what Roxbury deserves. So we think we put together the right team for 135 Dudley Street, based on our collective experience of working with projects of this scale, the mix of financing, and our ability to listen to the community and respond creatively. And that team starts with a strong co-developer. In this case, that's Dakota Partners. They're an experienced, community-oriented developer. Their work extends across Massachusetts and New England. We're joined here today by Roberto Arista, who's a co-founder and principal of Dakota Partners, and Vice President Scott Shaw brings his experience from the CDC world in Boston as well. The team also includes Arrow Street Architects, Amy Corte and David Boyes, Maloney Properties, Stacy Lieberman is here, Beverly Johnson is our permitting consultant, Terrence Moreau is our broker, Kate Kennan is from Offshoots as our landscape architect, and I'm also joined, we are by the extended team. Some board members from Nuestra Comunidad are here, Reverend Francisco Tolentino, Scott Pollock, Wes Williams, and most important, our board president, Donna Kramer. Good to see all of you. So we think our development concept meets the objectives in the RFP because it's detailed in every section. The good job section, fighting displacement, doing development without displacement, health and sustainable development. It's realistic, because it's based on the breadth of experience and track record of the partners, and it features deeply affordable housing options, setting a new standard for development without displacement at 90% affordability. There are 50 for-sale homes that provide wealth creation and also protection from displacement, and owner occupancy restrictions will prevent speculation and flipping. And it meets the needs of families across a wide range of incomes, from very low income, essentially zero, all the way up to $100,000. And a mix of family types, too, with offering 1 bedrooms, 2 bedrooms, and 3 bedrooms. Now, our design concept aligns with the RFP's design guidelines and objectives, and also portrays a bigger vision of opportunity and equity for Roxbury and Roxbury's future. You can see there's rental housing in a Dudley Street building with 6 stories and 100 apartments, and just behind it on the interior of the site is a 6-story homeownership building. So go to the next slide. Let's look at some of the detail. So on the Dudley Street building has prime retail space. And starting from right to left, we've got a variety of spaces and concepts for the uses. So at the corner at Dudley and Washington, we're thinking about an innovation space, which we'll talk more about, which could be for co-working. There's a community room that'll be available for neighborhood groups, and a set of small and very affordable retail spaces. We call them pop-up retail. They could be temporary, they could be longer term. And there's a bigger space at the far end of the building next to the plaza, next to the library, which could be a restaurant potentially, but we want to work with the community about the right kind of retail so that it complements what's existing in Dudley Square and doesn't hurt the retail that we value here already. And above, the building is set back a bit so that it's not imposing on the street, and it creates a green deck on the 2nd floor. And if you want to go to the next slide, the design includes a parking plan with 221 spaces in a garage. There'll be parking for the public to replace the Boston Police Department parking that's there, which the RFP requires, and also parking for residents. And the public parking will free up spaces on the street and parking lots in Dudley that'll help retail businesses. And there's a green roof at 25,000 square feet. It could be a community garden. We want to work with the neighborhood about what kind of green open space would be right there. And finally, Nuestra has the experience in the kind of financing program called MassWorks at the state, which will pay for this garage. Let's move to open space. There are two big, major public open spaces. One is we call the lawn. It's between the library and the Dudley Street building. And then on the interior, there's what we call the play area. So if we go to the next slide, we'll look at some of the details. There's over an acre of open public space, which is a significant amount. We could have built bigger buildings and had less public open space, but we feel like Roxbury deserves great housing and commercial space and great public open space. The lawn will be a community resource. It's available for public events as well as programming. It includes features that will activate it, such as outdoor seating for customers or just enjoying a summer afternoon. Something we call a seed source park, meaning there'll be native Roxbury trees, a pop-up plaza for temporary vending, maybe food trucks, push carts, art performances, and a stormwater garden designed for learning and enjoyment. South of the lawn, you can see outdoor exercise equipment, a test kitchen garden to be used by the food vendors, and a permeable landscape for stormwater collection. In the interior is a mounded play area, and you move beyond there, there's a grove of trees at the corner of Washington and Dudley to provide a green pedestrian entrance from that direction. You can see the open space creates welcoming pedestrian corridors. If you're coming from Dudley Street, walking through the lawn down by the library onto the Boys and Girls Club or the courthouse, or you could turn and go to the garage or the home ownership buildings. If you come in from Washington and Dudley through the Grove, you can easily get to all of those destinations that way also. So next, our Sustainable Development Plan. The highlights include LEED Gold, Passive House, which for folks who don't know means super packed insulation in exterior walls to dramatically reduce heating and cooling cost, Elevate Gardens, green space, native tree groves, solar-ready roofs, and a green roof on the garage. These are part of a detailed plan to promote both sustainability and health. We think they go hand in hand. And here's one example, trees. We provide a lot of trees here, and here's why. When urban renewal hit Roxbury in the 60s, it not only demolished blocks of housing, it destroyed Lower Roxbury's tree cover. And a result, over the years, there's been a heat island effect from all that exposed hard surface, and that has caused increasing rates of respiratory illness in Roxbury. So today, together, we can start to undo this racial disparity in health by rebuilding Roxbury's tree cover. So that's one example of our approach to sustainability and health. One last design slide that shows the view from the Dudley and Washington Street corner. As you're walking to the site, you can see that innovation space at the corner. There's the retail down the Dudley Street sidewalk. There's the Grove entrance into the interior of the site. And again, you can see the greenery. So let's move to our diversity and inclusion and our good job strategy plan, which is comprehensive, reasonable, and justifiable because it's based on our proven effective methods and track record for projects of this scope. This is not our first rodeo when it comes to setting and meeting high goals for diversity and inclusion. Our core development team has 3 MBE companies and 4 WBE companies. We have a couple of slides that talk about our track record, but our key goals for the project include hitting 51% workers of color, 51% Boston workers, 51 MBE contracting, and Nuestra since 1995 has averaged over 60% in each of those 3 areas, and we've provided that data in our proposal. And we also have a goal for this project of 15% WBE contracting and women workers. So one way to achieve high numbers is to prepare people, contractors and workers, for opportunities long before they're coming up. This is a session we held at Bartlett Station over a year before construction started to get contractors and subcontractors oriented, prepared, so they know what the opportunities were, what the schedule was, what they needed to do to bid effectively. That's one example of the methods we've used to get high numbers. To touch on permanent jobs, we think all of the operating businesses will be too small to be governed strictly by the good job standards in the RFP, but we're going to make our good faith efforts to work with each of them to do their best to meet those standards, in particular hiring from Roxbury and the local community. Our plan sets a new standard for development without displacement with over 90% affordability. The RFP set a minimum of 2/3 affordability. And it prioritizes proposals that maximize affordability. And that's what we've done. We set a high bar at over 90%. I think the next slide may show the income mixes. Yes, a quarter of the homes will be affordable for families with under 50,000 annual income, and 2/3 for families between 50 and 100,000. And both of those groups are getting squeezed out of Roxbury now by rents and prices. We're also promoting wealth creation and protection from displacement with 54 sale homes. The affordable prices range from $133,000 up to $305,000, and there are only 12 market rate units out of the 50. We're using the commercial space to fight displacement, but we're pioneering an affordable retail program so that local businesses have a chance to succeed. Our innovation space will provide career opportunities in computer design and finished carpentry, because those go hand in hand in the modern construction industry. And we're also providing opportunities for artists at risk of displacement through the affordable small retail space, marketing the housing to artists, and opportunities to perform and earn income on the street. Now, for additional community benefits, I want to bring up Terrence Moreau, our broker. It is just a coincidence that this hat store is in one of the small pop-up retail spaces.
Good morning, everyone. It is so comforting to see familiar faces in the crowd. I don't often speak at meetings like this. My name is Terrence Moreau. I transplanted to Roxbury maybe 7 years ago, rented in Dudley Square, moved deeper into Roxbury, and hopefully will be a homeowner within the next few months in Roxbury. I took the first-time homebuyer class through Nuestra, and I don't think they knew that. One of the things that I had to focus on in doing real estate in Roxbury, where I do focus all of my business, is the plight of Dudley Square's commercial market. I know a few people who own property in Dudley Square. I presented this idea to create affordable commercial spaces so that local businesses have the opportunity to station themselves in Dudley Square and thrive, meaning not pay their employees just minimum wage. I'm really excited to see that Nuestra picked this idea up and is presenting it with this new development. A testament to that is a local daycare, black-owned, woman-owned, is approaching the Bartlett Place to take 3,000 square feet. And I heard someone mention $45 per square foot for commercial space. Nuestra is presenting their space to my client in the teens, which we don't see. They're also contributing to my client's build out, which we found was wildly successful if we're trying to have local businesses station themselves in an area that is quite competitive in the commercial world. Another thing that I wanted to mention was I do a lot of market rate business, meaning my clients, we take old homes, we condominium old homes, and we sell them to market buyers. I even have a deal structured next to T-Mobile that includes 45 market rate condos. I was grateful to represent a developer who built the new apartment building on Washington with the Dunkin' Donuts. We managed to get $2,700 for 2-bedroom, 2 baths, just to give you guys an idea of the strength of the market business in Dudley Square. What I think is most important and what I'm hoping people take away from all of these proposals, which I am not biased towards any, is if there's public land that everyone wants to create subsidized housing for or deeply affordable commercial spaces for, I think it is important when you're looking over these proposals to focus on the people who are truly offering the most amount of affordable residential as well as commercial spaces for local businesses. The direction of Dudley within the next 5 years, if you all can envision it, will be dense. And if public parcels are not dense for the affordable market, then unfortunately the community will lose out. So I think the biggest thing to take away from this is who is offering the most amount of subsidized housing, subsidized rentals, as well as subsidized commercial, so that the community can continue to thrive as other people come into the area and build strong market rate developments. Thank you.
Okay, so I think that's it. I think we've done it in under 50 minutes and we're ready for questions.
Thank you, Nuestra, and again, extra credit, 15 minutes. So we've been talking about a question and comment period. And one thing I just want to emphasize is that by all means you could say that you prefer this or that developer, but I think it's also helpful to us in the project review committee is when you're structuring your comment, think about what is it that you might like about a certain plan? What do you think that works? Because what we're trying to do is formulate something. And the reason why I say that is because in some manner, we might not select a developer that you're preferring, but what's equally important is those comments that we can make sure that we can reflect with an applicant that we would be working with. So anyway, that's my comment on that. So why don't we start a 15-minute question comment period. In the back? So the question is, what's the rationale for having the condo and the rental building separate?
So there are a couple of reasons. One is we didn't think it made sense to have one giant building with both kinds of housing in it. So if you're going to have more than one building, it's kind of a logical separation. We also want the homeowners, to market. You have to offer amenities, like being close to the parking is one of them, and that the homeownership building is a little closer to the parking. It's a little more sheltered from the street. You're more typical to have apartment buildings on the street, homeownership buildings a little back from the street. Like at Bartlett, we put the rental buildings closer to Washington. The homeownership buildings more up Giles Street and Lambert Ave, a little more nestled in the Fort Hill neighborhood. This puts the homeownership a little closer to Tommy's Rock. So that's the rationale.
Thank you. Question or comment, Sophia? Okay.
Hi, my name is Sophia Chancellor. I wanted to have an opportunity to ask this specific question to all of the developers. So if you have the ability to answer this within your presentation, I would appreciate it. What does the rent look like for households of two, either parent and child, making $56,000 gross with no Section 8 mobile voucher? Same scenario for a household of one making $65,000 gross and two adults at $90,000 a year. And these scenarios are looking at the affordability for those households who do not have a mobile voucher. Specifically for the Nuestra team, what opportunity is there to pass the financial benefits of the solar panels to residents and homeowners residing in the buildings that will have solar panels in the future, as well as learning from Bartlett Condo's online marketing website? As a resident of Roxbury, I encourage the marketing team to be mindful of the images put out to market your condos for sale and rent if designated to develop this parcel. Thank you.
Sure. So I heard three questions. So the rents are in our proposal, but I've got some that I've made notes on here. For low income, for one bedrooms, for below 50% AMI, $895 with utility allowance puts it at $1,011.
That income is,
Right, we're talking about income below $50,000 in that category.
My question was $56,000.
Okay. Okay. So it'll, okay. It's detailed in the proposal. I don't have all the exact numbers here, but it steps up in terms of incomes below the low income, above $50,000 income, up to $100,000. It steps up from that $1,000, which is sort of the low income ceiling, up to $1,200, $1,300, $1,500, $1,700. And I think it tops out if you're at 100% of AMI at a little over $2,000. But that's about as exact as I can get. One of the challenges with solar and passive houses in a rental building is passing the benefits on to the tenants. We're going to work to try and do that. I know in the condo building, the homeownership building is much easier because they pay the cost directly. And then we think the right way to present images of the communities, which is in this presentation, we've worked with some brokers who haven't presented the right images of the community. We're working with a broker in this project and going forward who will present right images of the community. So that's an important point, and we're trying to be responsive.
1 second. We have a question or comment right here?
In terms of the health of the community. I remember in Texas when they had this terrible flooding, it was partially due to the fact that a lot of the land had been paved over and the water had nowhere to be absorbed, you know. But also the emphasis on asthma and other health considerations. I think we should bring back as much green space as possible. But I'm also an advocate for artist spaces, live workspaces, not just galleries and showcase kind of facilities, but actual affordable live spaces. And I'm wondering what you can say about that.
Thank you.
To touch on that last point, we don't have spaces set aside for artists here where you have to be a certified artist and only those can get apartments. We do have apartments like that in Dudley Square, and we're planning more at Bartlett Station. But we're going to market aggressively to artists, both for the small retail spaces at affordable rents and for the housing. At Bartlett, by that aggressive marketing, there are a number of artists who are moving into the rental housing there because they got in the lottery in large numbers, whereas you can't have a preference in the general lottery. So we're hoping by that kind of marketing, we'll get a high proportion of artists into housing here. And in home ownership marketing, you have a little freer hand for market rate. Not so much with the affordable, but after the first lottery for the affordable home ownership, often there are units that are left, and we can market those with a priority for artists.
Want to come? And then we'll go to Rodney and Hussein.
Good morning. My name is Lizella Reed, and I don't know if I missed it, but I was wondering did you tell us more about the positive housing? What does it mean?
So the question is about energy positive or the passive house. So David.
Hi, I'm David Boyce, an architect with Arrow Street. So passive house is an approach to create a really high performance building envelope. The reason for that is it reduces the energy needs of the building. So as a resident, you can use less utilities to maintain a comfort level in your apartment. Basically, we're going to reduce the amount of infiltration in outdoor air, so cold airs won't be coming in. You use high performance windows, high performance exterior building, and high performance mechanical systems.
Rodney, if you have a question or comment, will you come on up here?
It's just a comment. So we don't see demonstrated good use of retail space from the restaurant, unfortunately, because when we all were reading about in the newspaper Nubian Notion getting displaced, and now there's a check cashing spot there? Check cashing. So my question is, are we going to manage the space in ways where if you can't afford it, then you're out?
Sure, I'm glad to talk about that. So I hope everybody, if you Google the Bay State banner, I think it was March of 2016, there was a very long article about why Nubian Notion was closing. They weren't displaced. We didn't kick them out. We didn't evict them. There was a family business that was in its second or even third generation. Family businesses have a cycle, and they don't always last in perpetuity unless the next generation really wants to make a go of it like their predecessors. And Check Cashers has been at Dudley Square for 30 years or more in that building. When we rent new space, that's not who we look for. You can look at places like Fasika Restaurant over on Roxbury Street, Frugal Bookstore on Warren Street. Those are the kind of businesses we've put space in as it's opened up, and those are the kind of businesses we're going to market to, and we think those are excellent uses of retail space.
Hussein, do you have a comment or a question? Come on.
Hi, I'm Hussein. I'm a BRC member. My question will be, in terms of the rental space, what will be in terms of, so what will be the percentage of subsidized? And you mentioned home ownership, and out of those, how many are they below 80 income, and what's 100? And follow up with that will be condominium fee. As you guys market, like this more market, and most of them will be the same building. What would be the condominium fee for that condo fee? Yeah, so for that subsidized home ownership. And another question would be like, you may way in Roxbury like this more need like for example like 3-bedroom, 4-bedroom. Like why not consider more than 3 bedrooms? Thank you.
Okay, good questions. So all of the rental housing is affordable. There's a range, and a quarter of it is below the $50,000 annual income. Some of it's set aside for folks who below 30% of AMI, so-called, extremely low. They may have vouchers. That's typically what happens. But the rents up above them will be staggered, so you don't have to pay more than a third of your income. That's how affordability is defined. And for the condo building, condominium fees are an issue. So we set the affordable prices taking into account not just the mortgage and the insurance and property taxes, but the condo fee, again, to fit in with a third of income. And it's hard to find 4 bedrooms anywhere. It's hard to build in. Sometimes the guidelines of our funding programs discourage 4-bedroom units. We have developed some. We can look at that, but we find the demand is mostly for 2s and 3s and sometimes 1s. But in terms of the affordability? Yes, okay. Well, okay.
The question is regarding the commercial space. What's the affordability on that?
Right. So one thing we try to do is have some market rate retail, which kind of subsidizes the affordable. So we can get the affordable, as Terrence said, down in the teens per square foot, instead of in the 30s or $40 per square foot. We've also succeeded at Bartlett in raising grant money to write the retail rents down generally. So it's below what the top of the market might be, and that's one thing we've tried to do. And some of that money should also be for helping businesses with their startup expenses, with their equipment. Because if a business has to take out a loan for their equipment, that's a burden on them just as much as rent is. So you have to work on both of those, help with the startup equipment and getting the rents affordable.
Bridget, if you have a question or comment?
Hi, my name is Bridget Wallace, and my comment is about, it's for all of the developers as well. The city had done an extensive retail survey study some time ago, a couple years ago, and I don't hear any of the developers mentioning that, because what that talked about was cluster development and what was missing in the retail spaces here in Roxbury and what is needed in order to fill those spaces here in Roxbury. And the other piece that I would also ask the developers to focus on is the investment in the people here, because the people here are undervalued, right? The opportunities pass through Roxbury and Dudley Square, and we need to focus on the people, not so much on the built environment. Thank you.
We have approximately 3 or 4 minutes, so we just have a couple more questions and comments.
All right, thank you. My name is Liz Skidmore. I live on Atherton Street in Eggleston. This is my 21st year there. This is really more of a question or a point I'd like the Plan Review Committee to consider when they consider all these programs. 30 years ago, I started my apprenticeship in the Carpenters Union, and to speak to the woman who just spoke about investing in people, looking at all the women in the room, we know we're paid less. We know our daughters, our nieces, our granddaughters don't have the kinds of opportunities that men have. I've spent 30 years trying to create more opportunity to get more women into good union construction jobs, because there's absolutely no reason women can't do this work. We have done heavy physical labor since the dawn of time all over the world, and there's no reason to exclude us from these high-wage jobs. What my friends are passing around is data from the State Apprenticeship Division of Apprentice Standards that shows the growth of women in apprenticeship. The first presenter didn't mention women, the second did. Well, this is to the next two presenters are working closely with us. You'll see on the chart the blue growth. We've almost quadrupled the number of female apprentices in the state in union programs. The red flat line at the bottom is non-union. These are good jobs with good wages and family-sustaining benefits. So we hope the Plan Review Committee will consider that within the mix of what you look at. Thanks.
Thank you. I'm obligated to pick someone who has not offered a comment or a question yet. So, yeah. For fairness.
My name is Kai Grant, and I'm a longtime Roxbury resident. I'm also a business owner. We own a business that has generated almost $650,000 for small Black businesses, female-led businesses, local businesses right here in Dudley Square. We only had one developer out of the 4 come to us and say, hey, we want to work with you guys. We know that you guys are accelerating businesses. We know that you guys have had over 200 small businesses, micro businesses that have come through this community. It's a shame that we are not thinking about local, and all I hear is propaganda about local, Black, female. This is not me tooting my own horn. This is a deliberate and very thoughtful business strategy to ensure that we do not get left behind. This needs to be on everybody's mind. Extremely important. The second thing I'll say, how long, David Price, has it been since you guys have been working on Bartlett Yard? How long?
Well, the RFP process started in 2007. So we started planning in 2007.
And where are we at now?
So folks know, at Bartlett Station, there was an RFP process started in 2007. We were designated, we acquired the site at the start of the recession, in the middle of in 2010. We used the recession to do permitting and environmental cleanup and build the infrastructure. So we acquired it in 2010.
2010.
Yeah. 2 buildings
So-
are completed, and there's more coming this year.
I'll end on this.
Okay.
It's been 10 years, and you still haven't completed that project. Why are you up again for another RFP that's taking your attention away from the largest parcel that's under development, that's public, 8.5 acres, supposed to be wealth creation? Focus on what you need to get done. Stop trying to come in and play Pac-Man and do more than you can have, doing more than you have the capacity to do.
I would say, just to wrap up, I think we do have the capacity, but one reason we brought on a strong partner with Dakota is this would be too much for us to take on by ourselves. And the way to accomplish the community's goals, to be aggressive, is to put together partnerships that can creatively meet or beat what the community expects.
Thank you. That's an excellent point that we will take as we review the proposals with the Project Review Committee. We've now come to the end of that comment and question period for Nuestra. All right, okay, yep. Thank you for mentioning that. That's okay, and that's an important point for us to hear as a comment, and that's something that will be discussed with the Project Review Committee. Thank you very much for saying that. We're going to go to our third presentation now for 135 Dudley. I want to thank Nuestra, and I want to invite Teachers Place up. While we're doing that, if anyone feels like they got to stretch their legs in the lobby, we do have 2 television screens that are showing the PowerPoint as well as the audio.